BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform, and it continues to be your number one source for online betting. At least I hope. BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion, whether you're a newbie, you're a rookie, or you're a seasoned veteran when it comes to the sports betting game. NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, the NFL, the UFC, it doesn't matter. BetOnline has you covered. Trust me when I say, BetOnline, the game starts here. Welcome to the Mikey Likes You podcast. It is the greatest health and fitness podcast on the planet. Just ask me. I'll tell you. So, I wanted to talk about making changes. Okay? When it comes to physical appearance, no one wants to put in effort if there's not going to be any noticeable change. I think that's why a lot of the more functional fitness stuff has run its course. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with functional fitness, especially if, let's say, you're in special ops or you're a fireman or you're some type of, I don't know, let's say you compete in the CrossFit Games. I don't know. If there's a function that you're putting this towards, if performance is of the utmost importance to you, I can understand where the term functional fitness, first off, very gay. Secondly, I understand where the effort you're putting in the gym is more geared towards your performance than it is your aesthetics. But outside of that, most people don't have that. Most people want to look better, or else why work out, right? Sure, health is a huge component. But this is one thing that I want to hammer out. And if I have to make this entire freaking podcast, I feel like, A, I'm back on the radio because of FCC, and B, my daughter's here or something, because I got this thing where I don't understand why I can get the podcast to grow and I can get my socials to grow, but then I have no one subscribing to my YouTube, and then someone filled me in. They're like, hey, you can't cuss in the first couple minutes. In fact, if you don't cuss very much at all, it actually helps your YouTube a lot, unless you beep it. I was like, oh, that's definitely not a good thing, because my podcast sounds like a Andrew Dice Clay album from 1986. All right, let me get back to it. When you're talking about health, people get so geeky about blood sugar and cholesterol and legumes and lectins and gluten and dairy and all this. The reality is, and you can hear me say this, take this information and take it to someone who works in the medical field. And do it when there's no cameras and no microphone, so you know that they're telling you the truth. But the bottom line is that if you lose weight, if you get into a reasonable amount of weight with body fat, and you don't carry around an exorbitant amount of body weight proportionate to your build and your size, almost all health markers are improved. Almost all negative health aspects that we deal with as a population in this country are eradicated. You can say we are eating this too much. We're not eating enough of this. The reality is we're eating too much of everything. And people, when you're overweight and when you're consistently overweight for long periods of time, that's where all the health problems come from. So am I saying that there aren't some upsides to looking at the types of foods you're eating? Of course there are upsides. I'm not saying just simply losing weight overall is going to take care of all things. If you're losing weight but you're eating fast food and drinking and smoking cigarettes, okay, yeah. I mean, I don't think it takes a genius, a exercise physiologist or a nutrition expert to tell you that that's not the best way to go about it. But when we're talking about moving the needle, meaningful differences that you make in your health, not being fat is the most important thing. The most. I don't care if you eat lectins or gluten or red meat exclusively or plant-based. None of that matters if you're fat. Okay? If you're healthy and capable and can move properly and you don't carry around excess body fat, that takes care of health. from there is a small margin where you can make little changes in both directions. All right? So that being said, being that is the most important thing, A, for feeling good about yourself, and B, for your health, I want to focus in on what are the things you can do. Because if there's one thing I stand behind with this show, it's not a lot. It's that I am devoted to giving you meaningful, useful information that cuts through the overwhelming amount of useless bullshit that numbs your brain, that further frustrates you, that is coming to you via TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and people, they talk really loud and they have floppy hair and they might have abs. So you go, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, right, fam? Coming at you. It's Susie Pie coming at you straight from the gym, letting you know training like a bodybuilder isn't working out because they sit a lot. Yo, you gotta be functional. Go through the motions. It's all about carnivore, fam. Lit 225. You know, yeah, blow it up. Fuck you, everyone. Fuck you. When it comes to making a difference, it takes effort. Some of this stuff, there's no hacks to it. To the meaningful stuff. You have to get a real understanding of how much you're eating. And if you're underweight, you're not eating enough. If you're overweight, you're eating too much. You have to get a real understanding of just how much you're eating on a consistent basis. Then you have to get a consistent understanding, then you have to get a meaningful understanding of how much you should be eating. And then eat that for a long period of time. Lift heavy weights, and when I say that, it's relative to you. It doesn't matter how much the weight is relative to you that you're reaching a failure or very close to it in around 5 reps. It's heavy. It's not particularly enjoyable at first if you don't know how to do it well. And you learn to do it and you get better at it, and then it becomes very enjoyable. But it's still very difficult. The most important tools when it comes to making meaningful difference, moving that needle, they're not what you think. I would have to say number one most important tool, food scale. I got mine at Target because my cats broke mine. So I went and got a new one. It's on sale at Target, $19. Works pretty well. Get a food scale. You're weighing your food. Next most important tool to making a meaningful difference, Tupperware. I use glass. A lot of hippies say that like the plastic is bad for you. I don't know. It's outside of my pay grade. I will be very honest. But to err on the side of safety, I use glass. And it doesn't make my car and my food stink as much. It does help. And it like if I put my rice and chicken in glass Tupperware as opposed to plastic, 2 hours later when I go to get it out of my gym bag and eat it, it's more enjoyable. That is absolutely true. I can stand behind that. That's in my pay grade. It's not as like mealy and yucky. So those are the two most important things. Why do I say that? Because those are components that you have to make massive changes in. I put up a picture of me yesterday. This is me yesterday. I'm 45 years old. Look, am I the most ripped guy ever? No. I'm sitting at just under 12% body fat. DEXA scan, that's legitimate. I want to get single digit. Are some of the things that I'm going to do to go from 12 to single digit different than what you would do if you're crazy out of shape? Yeah, they're different. Are some of the things the same? Absolutely, they're the same. I do not recommend that everyone have the goal of getting to single digit body fat. It's not really useful. It might not even be all that healthy. But to do it momentarily makes it easier to stay in a healthier kind of ballpark. It's pretty easy for me because I'm active and I'm pretty committed to my nutrition to stay in that 10 to 12%, which is, according to science, right where a adult male should be as far as health and hormones to live an effective life. It's pretty easy for me to stay there because I do every couple of years I peak into 9-8%. If you get to 15%, it's a lot easier to stay at 20 than it is to just live at 30. Women have naturally a lot higher body fat than men do. That's just a given. So don't be shooting for the same things. But the Tupperware and the food scale, everyone's going to talk about your crazy diets and the gym and the workouts and the trainings. No, having the discipline day in and day out to not go to Chipotle and not go to In-N-Out with your coworkers at work, and to measure your food and weigh it and do that for a prolonged period of time. Do you have to do that for your whole life? No, you do not. And I don't recommend people live their life measuring their food and never going out to eat. But the 9 out of 10 of you listening to this, coming across any clips from this, have a desire, a real desire, a sincere desire to change the way that you look from the neck down. You will go from diet to diet to diet to diet. You will go from program to program to program to program. And it's not going to amount to a hill of beans in a year or 10 years because you're constantly switching up, looking for this secret, this new way of getting to where you want to go. Oh, listen to me. Until you break down and realize you have to get your head around how much you're eating and how much you should be eating, and go with how much you should be eating. Until you get your head around that, it doesn't matter what you're doing. And you can lose 20, 30 pounds doing carnivore. You can lose 20, 30 pounds doing keto. You can change yours. Once you go back to, I'm going to put my priorities on getting through the day, going to my job, taking care of my kids, all that, and the keto goes out the door, the carnivore goes out the door, you're sunk. You're going to go back. You can't look at this as like, let me get from point A to point B, and once I get to point B, I'm good for the rest of your life. No, it's not like that. None of it's like that. The sustainability and kind of the long-term goal, making it a lifestyle, is what it's all about. And you cannot make it a lifestyle by simply just making some changes here and there. Stop eating bread. Stop eating gluten. I'm not going to eat dairy. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to eat that. It doesn't, none of that means fuck all if you're eating 1,000 more calories than you're supposed to be eating, and what your kind of baseline metabolic rate would be. It doesn't matter if you have this new training program. People are still going to wonder if you work out. It all is built around that foundation of understanding how much you're eating and how much you should be eating, and going with the latter, not the former. All right. So that is step one. That is step one for me, going from just under 12 to hopefully single digit. And that is step one for you if you've never worked out and you've never cared about your diet at all. You're exorbitantly overweight. Step one is always getting your head around how much you're eating and then gearing it towards how much you should be eating. It's what I do, and it's what all people who have meaningful success with their physique do. Step two, gauge how much protein you should be eating and then stick with it. It is way higher than most of you think. There is no negative, there's no downside to a high protein diet. All this kidney, liver nonsense from the past, it's all bullshit. It's all fake. If you have some type of tumorous growth in your body, sure, you're off. You are this weird margin that's outside of what I'm about to tell you. I do not want someone who has anything negative growing in their body to be eating anabolically, to be eating high amounts of amino acids, because I don't want that to grow. So if you have cancer, if you have a tumor, sure, stay away from protein. Try to have a very minimal amount of protein. But there's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. There's no essential sugars. There's no essential glycogen. There's none. It doesn't exist. Am I saying don't eat them? No, that's definitely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there is essential amino acids, essential for you to get them, and there's essential fatty acids. It is essential for you to live, to survive. You need that. Now, essential to survive is really low. I'm just putting it in perspective. Okay? Get a good baseline idea of how much protein you should be eating. If you are making the commitment to lift weights, which you should, and you are living an active lifestyle and you want to lose weight, start with a gram of protein for your ideal body weight. The reason I say that is because if you're me, or if you're someone who's just like skinny fat, or if you're just like a regular gal, a regular dude, and you want to lose some weight, and you want to change your body, you want to get abs, fine. You can go with a gram of protein per pound of body weight. If you are overweight, just go with a gram for every pound of desired body weight. The reason I say that is because there is guys and gals, there's a guy listening to this or a guy seeing this that's 350 pounds and 5'8". I would never in a million years want him to eat 350 grams of protein. 280-pound professional bodybuilders need to be eating 350 grams of protein. And even that's a lot. Jay Cutler in his prime talks about eating, 300 and something grams of protein a day. He was massive and jacked and had carried so much muscle, and he needed to feed that and keep it anabolic. That's not humans. But most people, especially people who are overweight, are eating probably half the amount, if not less, half the amount of protein that they should be eating. I'm working with this guy. He's a friend of mine, and so I'm just kind of doing it carte blanche. I'm just doing it like as a buddy. I was helping him with his diet, and he said, look, the biggest problem for me is late night snacking. That's humans. It's much easier. All of you listening probably can relate. It's a lot easier to follow your diet from wake up till about 4 in the afternoon. Then once it gets to be 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, you eat dinner, you got some cravings, but then put the kids to sleep or whatever, and you're playing video games or you're watching your favorite show, and next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock at night and the sun's down and you're like, dude, I'm going to crush an entire box of cereal. Okay, that's nature, that's genetics. Again, also outside my pay grade. I don't know from an evolutionary science standpoint, but there's something to do with circadian rhythms that makes it that way. If you make a commitment to stuff your face with protein first, you prioritize it, it makes it so much more easy to not overeat. To the point that this guy that I was working with, he was saying my biggest problem is the snacking. I make sure I get my protein, I'm lifting weights, I'm doing my thing. But sure enough, come nighttime, I'll have a couple drinks and I'm just slamming down junk food, I said, from here on out, this is your only goal. I want you to get 200 grams of protein. He's about my size, okay? No sweat. So he calls me the next day. It's like 4 p.m. He's like, I've only got 90 grams of protein. And it was like 5 in the afternoon. I go, too bad. Go get more. He's like, I can't eat. And I go, really, you can't eat? Because if you drove through Jack in the Box right now and got some fries and some jalapeno poppers, I don't know what the fuck they sell there, and they were sitting in your car, you would eat them all and you would eat 3,000 calories worth of food. You would. So you could say, I can't eat anymore. If you force yourself to eat 10 ounces of flank steak before you even get to your rice, pasta / whatever, it makes it really hard. If you prioritize it before you even put anything else in your mouth, you're like, dude, let's get this out of the way. Let's go. Chicken, fish, steak, whatever. And you just slam the protein, 40, 50 grams at every serving. Not only is it easier to not eat the junk food, you kind of don't want it. You're like, no, you know what? I'm good. No, I'm having a hard time finishing this. You're not going to have a hard time finishing mashed potatoes. You're not going to have a hard time finishing some delicious pasta. That's no human has a hard time finishing it. You're like, dude, I know I shouldn't have more, but I'm having more. You have a hard time finishing. It's the palatability of it is so much lower, and the metabolic effects are so much more positive. So prioritize it, do it, get the protein. Here's another thing. You guys, and you, most women, and then you, this small group of guys who dream of being Brad Pitt in Fight Club, and all women listening, cardio is not the key. Those meatheads over there are going to go and lift their weights and lift the heavy weights and but I'm going to go here and I'm going to make sure I do my boot camp and then I'm going to do some cardio after so I can get into a little extra burn. You are you're shooting yourself in the foot. Am I saying don't do any type of interval work, any type of cardio? No, it's not what I'm saying at all. But just like I'm saying, when I tell you to prioritize protein, make sure you get it in first. It should be the most important thing when it comes to dietary decisions. Weight training should absolutely be the most important thing that you build your training around. Absolutely. Whether you are looking to get bigger, smaller, lose body fat, gain muscle, it doesn't matter. If you are looking to just be in better health, okay? I know that sounds crazy. I'm 45 years old. I am in better health than a 45-year-old marathon runner. I am. Go to any marathon. Now, when you hear me say this, I'm not saying long distance running is bad. Don't ever do it. It's the devil. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is if you are that devoted to long distance running to the point that you're finishing marathons, which is an incredible achievement. It's an unbelievably admirable. But go to the finish line at any major marathon, Boston, New York, LA. You go and you sit at the end of and count how many people who run by that finish line who have a body that you go like, I'd love to look like that chick. I'd love to look like that dude. There'll be a couple. There'll be one or two out of the thousands of people. Thousands of people. Now, if you go to any meaningful gym, okay, like any real, like highly coveted, highly regarded weightlifting gym, bodybuilding or powerlifting gym, not necessarily that. You have these like buzz gyms in Austin and Miami and LA and the super health hubs, right? The ripped hubs. If you go there, the majority of these people at all different ages look amazing. They're making a commitment to look amazing. That's the most important thing in most of their lives. It's up there with me. It's not the most important thing in my life, but it's up there. You know, the way I look and the food that I eat and the way that I train is geared around it. But along those lines, when you're lining up the things you need to do to look amazing, running dozens of miles is not up there. It's not involved. 0 times. Because you need the energy to pump iron. Pumping iron is the most significant thing you can do. We're talking about moving the needle. Losing body fat is the most significant thing you can do. And in order to do that, you have to be pumping iron. Because if you just cut your calories, look at any celebrity on Ozempic, just eating less, although a good idea, eating less and moving more, definitely the framework of what we're looking at. But if you just cut calories considerably and lose a lot of weight, it's not necessarily a good thing. The finished product isn't necessarily something you look at and go, that's good, we're good. Neither to the doctor nor to the people who are looking at you that want to have sex with you. Both the doctor who gives you the blood work and the exam goes, oh, lady, you're really, really a lot of bad news going on internally. And the guys at the bar are going to go, oh, okay. Well, she's not fat, but what's up with that? I'm not trying to be a dick. It's reality, right? If you're a dude, you're not that lean, so you go, I'm just going to lose 100 pounds. Good for you. Takes a lot of determination. And you should be applauded for it. But if overall just weight loss is all you're looking for, trust me, the end result isn't going to be what you're thinking it is. You think you're going to lose a lot of weight and you're going to be a dime piece. You're going to have abs and you're going to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. No, that takes specific steps. And just overall weight loss, Ozempic and cardio is not going to get you there. In fact, it can make it kind of worse because you don't want to have metabolic problems down the line. All right. Get an idea of what you're eating, how much you're eating, food scale, Tupperware, weigh your food, get a full idea of how many calories are going in your mouth. You will be shocked. I have told you about the study that they had like a couple dozen women in the UK and they all claimed that they were eating 12 to 1,500 calories and not one of them was eating under 3,000 calories. It's really eye-opening to recognize how much we actually eat. If you have a problem with your weight, trust me, it really is. And get a sense of how much you should be eating. Then it's a little easier. You can do formulas, you can go online, you can talk to people, then recognize how much you should be eating and stick to it. Up your protein, it makes it a lot easier, and it's going to be a lot healthier for you. It's going to make you look better in the long run. Pump heavy iron. And there you go. Those are the steps, man. So like I said, for me to do what I'm calling Project Single Digit, I just measured myself with a DEXA scan. It's legitimate, like 11.8% body fat. I want to get under 10%. For me to do that, a lot of the same things need to be done as someone who is considerably overweight that wants to lose a lot of weight and look better. A lot of things are the same. Are there some things that are different because I'm in a different phase? Sure, absolutely. But a lot of the fundamental things are very much the same. I have to recognize how much I was eating, and then I eat the amount that I should be eating, and I stay there. And I started measuring my food again about 3 weeks ago, at the beginning of the year, measuring my food, weighing my food, taking Tupperware with me to drop my daughter off at school, to go to jujitsu, and then to go to the gym, and then to go to work, and then to go to film something. And when I travel, sure, it gets a little harder, but you can make changes and you can adapt as you go, as opposed to just being like, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. I'm not going to be at all aware of how much I'm eating right now. The protein is high. My dietary fat is there in a healthy range, but it's lower. Why? Because fat is very dense calorically, and you don't necessarily need that much of it. I make sure I pick and choose the foods that I like to eat, and I eat a lot of them. That keeps me at that caloric level with a high enough amount of protein and a good mixture of micro and macronutrients so that I can train hard and feel good. And just keep going. Don't get caught up in something new in front of you and ditch what you've already been committed to. Stay the course. All right? I love you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel because I need it. I can't even monetize it. Please, YouTube channel. Put the link in the show notes below. Subscribe. And I have the Apex program at Train Heroic. I will put the link in the show notes as well. It's the greatest workout program if you're looking for one. Also, my Patreon is available. I've been working really hard on putting together my diet book. It should be coming sometime soon. But as for now, if you really want some detailed help with your diet and your training, go ahead and join up at the top tier of my Patreon. Link in the show notes below. In the crazy mixed up world that makes you think that nobody cares, remember, I do be good.